Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 20?
21?
21? Is it 21?
Pretty sure it's 21.
Pretty sure it's 21, okay. That is, okay, starting off the first Trek that we're recording. Actually, no, it's not the first of the year, is it? We did one.
We did one last week,
After
yeah.
the first, yeah. I mean, see, clearly,
this is awful.
this is just. If I'm going to crash and burn, I'm going to do it all the way off the cliff. So yeah, so this is called Patterns of Force. So spoilers for the episode, as always, and this one is a bit notorious. I mean, I don't know if it's notorious in reputation, but I feel it's notorious after watching it. I'm assuming it's notorious.
It should be notorious.
So the plot of this one is that Kirk, Spock, and of course the Enterprise as a whole, head to this planet where there's like a neighbouring planet. There's two planets, Xeon and Ecos, and this other Starfleet officer years ago went to Ecos to sort of be not a diplomat, but like a cultural advisor, cultural overseer, cultural observer, yeah, like some typical Starfleet kind of thing. No interfering too much, just there to observe and
see how they're doing.
Yeah, and when they get to the planet, they find out that this Starfleet officer has turned this planet into a new version of Nazi Germany. And there's Nazis running around, and they're treating the people from the other planet. This is Ecos. They're treating the Xeonians. Yeah, that was right. Yeah, Xeonian. Yeah, that's what they say here. It just sounds weird. But they're treating the Xeonians as like Jewish people, basically, from Nazi Germany.
Yeah, there's no getting around it, is there? This is the least subtle Star Trek episode ever.
That is what this is. I'm fairly certain the reason why this episode exists, and this probably goes for a few episodes. It probably goes for the gangster one as well. Thinking about it, where they had costumes for a different TV show that they could use for an episode, so they wrote a plot to use
most likely
the costumes and perhaps even sets from other shows. So I feel like that's why this one is kind of here. But I mean, it's a lofty idea, so maybe they can do something with it. But of course, it's all about trying to figure out what went wrong, getting to this guy. What's his name? Gill. John Gill is the character who came here years before. He's the Führer. So again, not subtle.
No. This is full on Nazi imagery, iconography. You know, like names, the lot. Oh
yeah, the symbols all over the place. The outfits, everything. There's nothing about it that's holding back.
They're just calling them Nazis.
Yeah. In fact, when I've got the page up, but I happened to notice a little section at the bottom about how in Germany this wasn't aired originally in the 60s. They did not feel comfortable with it.
I'm not surprised. Even now, Germany is very, very strict on what you can show with these images. Like a lot of video games from the last year, the Wolfenstein games, that got edited so that it wasn't showing other stuff.
Yeah, and obviously they do have examples of it that they've made, but it took them a long time before they themselves made anything that had any type of movie, let's say, with about Nazis. Like it didn't. Like I remember Downfall came out in like 2004, which is the movie about Hitler's last like day or so. Like that was like I don't know if it was the first, but it was definitely like one of the first big examples. And that was that was post 2000 where they started doing that. It took them a while to feel comfortable enough. Okay, let's start exploring this in cinema or whatever. And I don't blame them. Like by all means, yeah. Interestingly, this episode did not air on TV in Germany until 1995, and it was a cable channel. It didn't air on free TV until sometime 2015 or something like that. So, Connor's holding back hiccups. Connor has chronic hiccups, by the way.
Yeah.
Just in case
that one also played as the shock of the how long it took them to.
Oh, sure. I feel like people who have been watching us for a long time or listening to us for a long time know that you have chronic hiccups and just ignore it. But I forget that every so often we'll have new people who just discover us and they'll be like, "Man, this guy's really rude. He keeps making hiccup noises. Like, what's wrong with him?" No, he has. It's a stupid condition, but it's a condition.
I can't disagree with that.
It's not even like dangerous or harmful or like, oh, he's got months to live.
Hurts me.
Good. So Kirk, Spock go down to the planet, And they end up they even steal uniforms, and they're dressed as Nazis for half the episode. It's it's a whole thing, and they're trying to like get to the underground. They meet the underground, resistance from Xenon, and they do all these other things. That's the episode. So I guess I'll ask the question, Connor, did you enjoy Patterns of Force?
I have no idea how I feel about this one. It's all over. Like, there are things where I'm like, okay, this is pretty good, and there are other points where I'm like, what on earth is happening here?
I think what gets me is at the end. So just to explain the plot, so I can make my point here. So they meet up with the Resistance. They find out that some of the Nazi officers are actually part of the Resistance. They're undercover. Particularly this woman, Darius, I think her name is. She's undercover. She's part of the regime, and they eventually get to the Führer, this Gill fellow, and it turns out that he's actually just deeply medicated, and he's not really in control anymore. And this other guy named Malikon's basically taken over, and he's the one calling all the shots now. And Spock does a bit of a mind meld, and McCoy's pumping him full of drugs, and they get enough answers out of him to basically explain that he basically decided to sort of model them after Nazi Germany because regardless of what they did, they were a very efficient society.
I mean, that's technically true.
Technically it's true, yes. We'll get that kind of worms in a minute. I just want to get to the point I was going to make. So, but now he finds out, okay, this other guy's taking over, they're starting a war, they're going to do a Holocaust, all these things. That's a really weird sentence, we're going to do a Holocaust.
Oh boy.
And Spock Kirk informs him that no, this is all happening now. So he gets enough energy to go back on TV because he's been announcing things over the TV, and he's like, "Hey, this guy's taking over. He's a traitor. No more bloodshed. None of this." And he basically, tells them all to stop this nonsense. So my biggest problem with the episode, honestly, I mean, there's a lot of things you could arguably have problems with in this episode, but I think the biggest problem I have is that immediately after this, when they come, so the guy who took over Malek, I can't want to say Malekith from Thor, Malikan.
Why would you even remember his name?
Because I also read him in the comics. It's not like I just know him from that stupid movie.
That's fair.
He assassinates him. Actually, he assassinates the Führer Gill, and then he gets shot down by the Resistance. And then immediately, the next in command, like the next two guys in command of the entire Nazi regime on this planet, go, "No, we've understood. We're going to stop the bloodshed and do away with our ways."
That's what the Führer says, then that's what we'll do.
And I'm like, what? You're just going to give it all up like that?
I think it's supposed to be saying that's how. Because the point at the end is this whole, the one leader system, like the ultimate ruler, and it's like, no, whatever he says goes, regardless of whether it's good or bad. I think, and they're like, well, that's what he said, so that's what we'll do. And it's supposed to be showing how malleable the people are for this, and how they just kind of go along with it.
I get that. I don't know if I find this believable.
No, me either.
At the very least, I expect them to go, wait, why is he telling us to do something completely different now? What's happening? Be confused, have hesitation or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's strange.
But they just immediately are like, yeah. We'll just do exactly what you just said, and everything's fine. You saved the planet. We're no longer going to kill the other planet, and we're going to work together to, improve our lives in society. Blah 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 blah. The end. That is basically how it ends. It wraps up. So they solved the Nazi Germany problem in about 10 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much.
In real life, it took a lot more effort than that.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
And you can't even argue that they use fancy future technology to do it. They don't.
No, they don't. Not this time.
No, it's just convincing the leader. I mean, you try to go back and convince Hitler. Oh, but calm down now, son. You went a bit far.
Yeah. To be fair, though, the point is here that unlike Hitler, this guy wasn't evil.
He wasn't, although I think it says something that watching this in 2018, up until you find out why that it wasn't quite like what he was doing. Like before that, when you just sort of land and you realise, wait a minute, the Starfleet guy turned a planet into a Nazi regime. All I can think was, yeah, suddenly finding out someone you thought was okay as a Nazi, that seems very relatable in 2018 somehow.
Do you know something else that I thought was really strangely relatable? There's the bit where he's giving the speech on the prompter, and he's on the TV.
Oh, I feel like we're
and
getting a
they're
Trump joke here.
Yeah, pretty much. And they're like, these sentences make no sense. This speech has no structure. He's just saying things. I was like, that is scarily familiar today.
Oh dear. I mean, I'll give it credit that the things that it's hitting on are still relevant. Like, it's not a dumb episode in that sense. I would argue that it's an ill-advised episode.
Yeah, I think Star Trek benefits from the shield of science fiction, of just, even when it's really obvious stand-ins for things, it benefits from that distance.
Sci-fi or fantasy use other things to represent what you're talking about. And I think that just makes it a bit more comfortable. I feel like there is almost a thing here where you're using this awful real thing for entertainment purposes, which isn't necessarily inherently bad. I mean, you mentioned Wolfenstein earlier. I'm all for Wolfenstein, but Wolfenstein is purely just about killing Nazis.
Yeah.
We can all get behind killing Nazis. However, here it's really murky because they also they have lines about saying, "Oh, here were the good parts of Nazi Germany. Here were the things they did right."
It's crazy that this was like 20 years after.
Yeah, it is. It's just after. It's just over 20 years after the end of the Second World War. It's insane that this was fine at the time, even for the West.
It's madness.
Well, I mean, Germany's in the West, but you know what I mean, Western West.
yeah. Germany aside, basically.
Yeah.
It baffles me. This is maybe how I don't know how I feel about this, because it's not inherently a bad episode. It doesn't do a lot of things that I go, no, this is bad.
Oh no, I think the resolution's rushed, and I'd criticise it for that. I feel like the actual tension throughout the episode's pretty decent for the most part. Although I will say, I think they dress up and dress back down and dress up again a few too many times. I was starting to feel this sort of like slingshot of like, we're in disguise. Oh, we've been caught. Now we're back out of disguise. And then, did they ever actually explain why the jailer guy doesn't recognise them when he sees them again at the?
No.
Because this is the thing. I thought they were going to, because Kirk turns to Spock and says, "Can you think of any reason why I didn't just recognise us?" And I'm like, "Oh, so that's not a plot hole. That's like something they're pointing out." Okay, they're going to go into why that is. They're setting that up as a mystery, and then it's never brought up again. And I'm like, all you did was point out the plot hole, and nothing else.
I know.
I don't understand.
I will say this has one of the best reactions ever. I can't remember what the line was. It's when Kirk's going to put on his uniform for the first time, and Spock says something, and Kirk just turns and gives him this glare.
He says the uniform suits him or something like that.
That's it. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, he says you make a good Nazi, and he turns and he just goes, what?
Spock, calm down there. Calm down.
That I need that GIF. I need to find it, because that is the best reaction that the show has had yet.
I'm sure it exists.
I'm sure it does. I just need to figure out what to search. Help me out, comment section.
Oh dear. It's weird. I don't.
This is so straight. It's a really surreal episode.
I feel like it was just a weird idea that came about again because they had these costumes lying around. Although maybe, at least rip off the swastika. Just maybe do that.
I did notice on their uniforms, at least, or I really noticed it on Spock's, that it wasn't on there.
Kirk did have one for a lot of the episode.
Kirk did. Okay, I know Spock didn't, because he was the first one to put one on. I was like, convenient how his doesn't have one, isn't it?
I know this because well, to be fair, those types of uniforms didn't have them. Like,
no, I know, but it was just because we'd seen them immediately, and then it was okay, Spock uniform, and it was like, okay, one without one. I was like, okay, fair enough.
But Kirk definitely has one, and I know that for sure because when I was doing the thumbnail, I was specifically avoiding ones with the swastika on display, just for
good choice, because YouTube will slash this video really hard if you do that.
Yeah, so I was just making sure there was none of that on show for obvious reasons, and but. I don't like. I feel like, do you know the funny thing is I feel like it's actually oddly more sensitive now. Maybe that even. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't alive in 67, 68 when this aired, like, so I can't.
Yeah.
I can't comment too much to the feeling at the time. But I feel like had I watched this like 10, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have felt as weird. But now, post 2017, it feels a little bit weird again.
It does, doesn't it?
Because I think for a long time it kind of felt like, nah, we were done with them, we beat them, it's fine, they're just a joke now, they're a punchline for everyone.
Even like 5 years ago, I don't think I'd even thought twice watching this. Not really.
They're a punchline now to be laughed at, we kill them in video games, that's it. That's all. That's what they are now. They're crappy generic villains that we don't mind seeing get blown up or whatever in a movie, like, that's what they are. But you know, after 2017, and it's like, oh, but now we kind of have to deal with these assholes again. Not in the exact same way, but like we're thinking about it again, and it makes you want to take it less as a joke than you maybe would have before.
Yeah, definitely.
So that makes the episode a little bit murky in that sense. I can't say it's terrible though.
No, well, that's the thing, because technically, like, okay, yeah, there's a plot hole, the ending's a bit rushed, but technically speaking, it's not a bad episode. It's just strange, surreal, and just makes for an almost uncomfortable watching experience. It's not quite, because it's got this layer of just
trekkiness.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
I'll tell you what I was disappointed in. See when McCoy was about to beam down because he needed his, expertise, and Uhura, maybe Chekhov, whoever's in the comms at the time, when they're talking to Kirk, they're like, "Oh, McCoy's delayed. He's having trouble with his outfit." And when he beamed down, I thought it was going to be because he didn't want to wear a Nazi outfit, and he was going to complain that he had to wear this.
That's it, because Kirk's like, I don't give a damn if you send him down naked, just send him down now, and he immediately starts beaming. I thought it was going to be just only like half dressed or something. Yeah,
it turns out that his shoe doesn't fit, but like I was really hoping he was going to complain that he had to wear this. Like, have someone be offended that they had to.
Yeah, no, they all just get on with it.
Because I actually speak from an odd bit of experience here. Not that I had to wear something myself. But if you don't know, I did like television and film, so I made short movies and stuff in university, and not my film, but someone else in the class wanted to make something set in World War II. There was a character dressed as a Nazi soldier, and this is the funny thing. I would not agree to this now. Again, post 2017, there's no way I'd agree to this.
You don't want photographic image of that,
right? But I, at one point, was standing in public. I mean, I was the camera guy. Like, I wasn't like doing anything particularly suspicious. But there was someone in front of me dressed in a Nazi outfit.
It's weird because it's like, I get it. You're acting. This is films for decades at this point, and TV have been doing this. But it's still just weird now, isn't it? Again. That
said, though, there was one old couple who walked past and gave us a stare that I don't think I'll ever get out of my head. I don't think I'll ever get that out of my head.
The cameras kind of give it away, don't they?
The cameras give it away, but I think when actual film productions are making these things, they put a perimeter up, they have security. It's very clear it's a big production, so it's very obvious this is professional. And secondly, no one will get too close to it where they can actually
of course
be thingy. So that was going through my head during this, and I'm like, oh man, how I would not agree to be on that shoot now.
That's not to say you shouldn't do it if you've got a great idea for a movie and it happens to be filled with Nazis.
But do it properly. You should
still try and make it.
Oh yeah, but don't just guerrilla it on the street without any permission or permits.
Or if you do, just be ready.
Be ready? Be ready for what?
Well, I don't know. You might get some people try and punch you these days.
I don't blame them.
No, I don't. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to do it, be prepared for someone to try and punch you.
So yeah, so that was running through my head. It's just kind of weird, all these actors having to dress up as this, because I imagine it always feels uncomfortable. Like,
yeah,
I have to imagine, especially speaking of downfall, the German film. Like, I have to imagine them having to dress up as that felt extremely uncomfortable.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
But you get into your role and all the rest of it.
Your job, basically.
Aye, that's making a bit light of it though. Just because they're actors doesn't mean they're not allowed to feel uncomfortable with certain roles.
No, they can feel uncomfortable, but I'm saying they always just kind of they get on with it.
Sure. But yeah. So weird episode in that sense. Oddly more uncomfortable 2018, 2017 than it would have been maybe just in 2012, say.
Yeah, definitely.
But hey, I don't suppose you can fault it too much for that. Like, because
It's not really its fault, is it?
Well, here's the thing, though. I don't necessarily think they should have used the actual imagery, because it actually raises more. Because when they set up at the end that, oh, he started with some fascist ideas because it was efficient to sort of set up what this place was, they didn't really have to use the actual imagery. Like, they could have said, no, he used the ideas of a fascism or a fascist.
Well, that's the thing. We've seen that already a few times on Star Trek. You know, the stand-ins for Nazi Germany. We've seen it at least 3 or 4 times.
But I feel like all you have to do is have the fascist regime, have it clearly represented. And I know we've said that already, but I'm saying in the context of how it actually happens, the idea that this other person takes over and kind of makes it more like it actually was and actually strives it to a proper fascist regime. Like, technically speaking, if someone else took over, I mean, let's say the symbol was never there, let's say the swastika was never involved when Gil was just sort of using the ideas of a fascist society. This new guy taking over, like, shouldn't have went to that symbol. It should have, you know, maybe had his own symbol or like something.
Yeah.
I don't know, like do something like that. Say it's clearly okay, that's what he tried to do. I think it's harder to swallow when it ended up having everything look exactly the same. Now I get it's because the outfits were from a different TV show. I get it. Like I know there's a logistics reasons for it. Take off the armband, put something else on.
Like, yeah, make your own armbands. It's not much to ask, is it?
Make up a different name, call them, I don't know, pretzels or something. I don't know.
That's what you go to, pretzels.
Well, because I had a Z in it, like Nazi. The first word I thought of with a Z in the middle was pretzel.
I can't argue with that. Your logic is flawless.
You know.
So I don't think there are that many words with Z in the middle.
Yeah, because even something like crazy, it's like the second last letter, so I wouldn't, you know, you want something...
It's not in the middle, is it?
Yeah. Don't know. What a weird... I mean, hell, I suppose technically Nazis, the Z's. That's only 4 letters.
Yeah, but that's only 4, so it's still like as close to the middle as you can get.
Yeah. It's the middle syllable, if you will. Or no, there's only 2 syllables, but, you know, you get what I mean. You get what I mean.
You're making this worse.
Well, this episode made everything worse. Like, what?
Yeah. I think this episode might have fried our brains a little.
Oh dear.
Back to normalcy next week.
Possibly. I enjoyed some of the comedy with like Spock does this fancy thing with the transmitters in their wrists, which by the way they've never had before. This idea, oh, just in case the transmitters don't work, we'll put like a you know, something in your skin, in your wrist that'll be a backup.
I don't think it was so they could communicate though. I think it was just so, okay, if we can't get a hold of you, we know where you are, so we can lock onto you and bring you back.
Oh sure, but instead of that being
like they should have that in them at all times. So
yeah, that was weird that they never used them before. Because how many times have they had this trouble with it?
I know honestly, that should be in, you know, Starfleet Regulations 101.
Yeah, how many episodes would the episode be completely null and void because they could be beamed out of the situation at any point because they had these trackers?
About 50%.
Probably. But the comedy of, like, so Spock takes them both out their wrists. In fact, the other guy in the other cell thinks they're killing themselves because they're cutting into their wrists. Which I thought was an oddly dark joke for Star Trek. I was like, oh, that's kind of... I was like, oh, that's kind of dark joke for Star Trek. But he basically uses the light bulb with these 2 transmitter things to, like, make a laser. I mean, Star Trek science.
Sure, why not?
But the scene's entertaining because it's up quite high, so Spock's like, I'll need some sort of platform, and Kirk's like, well, I'd be honoured, Mr. Spock, and he sort of like, and do you know what, I thought he was just going to like get on all 4 so he could stand on his back. Instead he had this really, it was like an awkward like 2-minute scene of Spock trying to find the best way.
Well, that's because at first when he crouched down, I thought he was going to, you know, where you give him a hand.
Yeah.
So they can, you know, give him a leg up like that. I thought he was going to do that and just kind of hold him up a bit, but then no. Just climbs around on him.
Instead, while they're both topless, we get this extremely homoerotic scene of them kind of cuddling each other and trying to like figure out the best way of doing this. And I'm like, there was like 2 easier ways to do this, at least.
Yeah. Do you know what something I appreciate about this? Because obviously, I mean, we're used to seeing Kirk topless. We see it all the time.
Oh, sure.
Spock, when he's topless, they've obviously been like whipped or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they're green.
He's green blood.
Yeah, he's green. I thought it was nice that they actually just, you know, paid attention enough for that.
Yeah, I remembered that. No, that was a nice touch. But no, this scene's quite funny because, like, Kirk's telling me to hurry up, but when he says something that Spock doesn't quite understand, like a metaphor or something, he mentions
hit the side of a barn door.
Yeah. If you know the aiming might be bad enough, you'll just hit a barn or something like that. And instead of like continuing, Spock just sort of stops and goes, "Why would I try to aim for such a structure as that?" And Kirk's like, "Just hurry up, Spock! Just hurry up!" He's like, he's struggling with the pain.
And even before that, you've got when they're making the device, I'll say, the crystals with the metal bar. It's like it's got to be exactly 27.2 millimeters, or this won't work. And he kind of goes, "Yeah, I think that's about 27.2. Yeah, roughly speaking, of course."
Yeah, because decimal points in a millimeter is easy to...
And he's like measuring it against his finger, going, "Yeah, I reckon that's about right." And Kirk's just like, "Yeah, of course, sure it is."
Oh dear.
There's only like there's genuinely good things in this episode. It's baffling.
Yeah. And like I say, the message at the end's quite murky, because like they get back in the ship and they're talking about what happened, and Kirk's like, "Well, the problem with Nazi Germany wasn't who they were in of themselves."
Yeah, it wasn't that their leaders were evil, although of course they were evil. He does say that.
It was just the idea of absolute power. And don't get me wrong, I think there's definitely a valid point to make that absolute power corrupts. It does. I think it's the wrong thing to say when you're talking about Nazi Germany, though, because Hitler was already evil long before he got absolute power. Yeah. He didn't gradually grow evil once he came to power. He was gunning for the evil stuff the whole time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So that does not work as a discussion point for Nazi Germany.
No, he went for power to enact the evil shit.
Yeah. So that conversation doesn't work with what really happened. So that's murky. Even though the joke afterwards where Kirk's like, "Oh, let's not start another civil war," whilst McCoy and Spock are bickering with each other.
Yeah. Oh, this is such a strange episode.
It's a murky one. It's not a bad episode. It's not a great episode. There's some good ideas.
It's an interesting episode, that's for sure.
It is, yeah. But here you go. That's Patterns of Force, episode 21. So we'll be back next time with whatever the next episode is.
Real professional. Are you checking what the next one is?
Yeah, by any other name is the name of the next episode. I've never actually told you that at the end of one of these, that the next one's...
No, I was like, well, that's why I was like, what are you doing?
Well, maybe I'll start doing it. The next one's by any other name.
You'll forget next week.
Joe, it's funny actually, for Patreon I do Buffy commentary tracks for the hit television show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, of course. And at the end of every episode, I always sort of say, "Oh, next time it'll be this episode," and I've just been doing it from memory because I just know what they are, just because I just know them, right? This week was the first time I second guessed myself as to which one was next, because it could have been one of two, and I'm like, damn it, I've been doing so well up until this point.
You're a disgrace.
But obviously, I don't know what all the Star Trek episodes are off by heart.
Well, got time to get memorizing.
Oh yeah, all 20 plus seasons of all the various Star Trek shows. Yeah,
you don't need to memorize a season at a time.
True. I'll just memorize what the next one is before we start recording. I'll sound impressive every week. I'll be like, next one's
but given that you often check the title of what this episode was 20 seconds before we start, I mean, hell, this week you forgot what episode number it was.
It's because I'm usually on the IMDb page, but I had it on the Wikipedia page for the planet names because I knew I'd forget them. But it means that the number wasn't in front of me. Usually it's in front of me. It's not that I remember.
See, that's my point. The number has to be in front of you. You think you're going to remember you're going to look before the episode, and then 20 odd minutes later go, "Oh, it's this next," without checking.
It's possible.
Unlikely, but yes, possible.
Hey, unlikely, improbable, but never impossible. And I just quoted the Super Mario Brothers movie, of all things.
I think we might be done.
I think we are done. I love the opening to that movie, by the way.
It's awful.
The narrator basically explaining dinosaurs is like, "But what if they survived? What if they found a way to come back?" And then it just comes up with the title Super Mario Brothers.
Why are we talking about that shit? Oh.
And a thick Brooklyn accent, no less, because that's what you think of when you think of Super Mario.
I've got 2 more things to record with this prick after this, and he's going on about Super Mario Bros.
That has been Star Trek. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below and stuff. Like and subscribe, all the usual jazz. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz. If you want to support the channel and the show and everything we do here, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You get these Star Trek reviews a week early at the dollar tier, by the by. There'll be a link to the Patreon in the description, as well as some other useful things. But otherwise, that is us. So, thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, and we'll see you next time.